my podcast cart partner right there. That's a good introduction. I thought he was going to build me up a little bit more. So, I don't know. Oh, let's get through the little musical part. Producer Dustin, thanks for that. All right, so we're at this crossroads right now, and the crossroads is trying to understand exactly what everybody needs to do to become compliant. And as a provider, we get those questions more often than not from the people. I'm going to go through and talk about our newest offering, but I figured since, one, I'm from DC, born and bred in the DMV. I've lived in all three, District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. I've called it home at some point. And I figured since I was here, and since this is my 10th CS2, and it's the first time that I get to stand on the stage by myself at CS2, I figured there was no better way to take advantage of it than to tell a story about myself. It's my time. You guys shouldn't have gave me a mic. We'll figure it out, right? Couple things. Been on the podcast with Jacob for 100 episodes. It's going okay. I think we're doing things. I have 12 years in cybersecurity, whether it's with the Department of Commerce at the National Institutes of Health, whether it's with the Department of Commerce or at the National Institutes of Health, or in private sector, or the last 3 years, which have been really special to me at Summit 7. I like to say that I play golf. I am into NIST frameworks. I talk about them a lot with my co-host. And then I took something from Joy Beelan, good friend of mine. She does it before every single one of her presentations. And what she does is she wants to add something to the title slide that's maybe something people might not know about themselves. I have favorite TV dads. It's the way I model how I raise my daughter or interact with my wife. It's you got to have good examples, right? And we have them on the screen. Number one, top seed all time, Clark W. Griswold, the best TV dad in history. Followed by the best girl dad in history. I have a daughter. It's my only child, Danny Tanner. I think that Danny Tanner is the most special girl dad in history. R.I.P. Bob Saget. And then Phil Dunphy. If you're not familiar, that's the dad from Modern Family. He knows how to have a good time. So we're going to have a good time up here. And if you guys have never seen me present before, it's a little different. I move around a lot. I trip on words. I try to tell cool jokes. I also like audience participation. So we're going to go through all those. My story today is called A Road Trip and a Dream. 3 years ago, I took a bit of a leap. The guy from the DMV took a job with a company in Alabama. Summit 7, pretty good move for my career, I thought. But within the first week of being at Summit 7, I had to plan a road trip. I had to fly down to Huntsville. And what I typically do when I go on road trips is I like to plot out what I'm going to do while I'm there. I want to see the city. I want to know what's going on. If I need a car, I'll rent a car and go around. If I need Uber, I'll hop in Uber and I'll go around. So I had 3 places that were really important for me to visit when I came to Huntsville. Headquarters, of course, because I'm going to be working there and hoping I'm going to be spending a lot of time there. The Davidson Center. I didn't know they had rockets in Alabama. They do. And Buc-ee's, Athens, Alabama. Now, show of hands, everybody in the audience, who's been to Buc-ee's before? It's a spot, right? It's like Bass Pro Shops, Chipotle, and a gas station had like this monster baby to satisfy all your needs, right? I was so excited. I'm going to tell you a story. Anybody that's local to Huntsville, this will resonate with you a little bit more. But there's this main strip that goes past Summit 7 headquarters, and it's Highway 72, right? Did I get it right? 72? And on 72, it's built up. There's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of choices and stuff like that. But to get to Buc-ee's, you have to go to the most remote place in Huntsville. Like, they haven't developed it there yet. So when I'm making my trip, on the first night that I get to Huntsville, to Buc-ee's, I got my GPS loaded up. I'm in my rental car. I'm driving. And I get past a restaurant called Culver's. If any of y'all are familiar with the area, that is the end of civilization as you know it in Huntsville. Because once you pass there, you get about 2 or 3 miles, and GPS stops working, your cell phone stops working, and if it's your first time in Huntsville, you think that's the last time you're going to be in Huntsville because you're not making it out. I made it out, but why did I make it out? After a brief stop at a bar pizza combo, and the people were like, "What are you looking for, youngin'?" I said, I'm looking for Buc-ee's. Oh, the Boosies, right? You're looking for the Boosies. And I was like, yeah, if that's what you want to call it. They were like, keep driving, darling. I was like, okay. So I drove. In the pitch black, the darkness, me thinking I'm going to get kidnapped, all of a sudden these magical golden lights appeared. It was Buc-ee's. I walked up and I was like, this is odd for a gas station to have pellet stoves outside. Let's see what this is about. So I go inside. And I'm going to ask you, any of you that have been to Buc-ee's before, I'm going to ask you the same question that my wife asked me when I got home, and then I'll share her answer after I hear yours. When you went, did the legend live up to the hype? Yes, right? It's glorious, right? Well, she was like, did the legend live up to the hype? I was like, babe, yeah, it did. It was amazing. I couldn't believe all the things I could get. I could get boxer shorts, stuffed animals. But there were 3 things in particular that stuck out to me. 3 things that were incredibly awesome. The first, in my big back language, 26 flavors of beef jerky. 26, counted them. You can get sweet, you can get spicy, you can get sweet and spicy, not too sweet, not too spicy, whatever you want. If that's not enough, as you're walking through Buc-ee's, you smell homemade fudge and those cinnamon sugar covered pecans. Did I say it right? Pecan? But yeah, so you have that. And so as you're getting the sensory overload with so much beef jerky, more than I can count, and 22 flavors of fudge, all of a sudden you hear, fresh brisket on the board. There's guys in cowboy hats that tell you there's fresh smoked meat for you to come get. If that is not heaven, I don't know what it is. So I told that to my wife. I'm laughing at the face that she made. My loving, supporting, beautiful, caring, charismatic, hardworking wife, all of those other things, in case she's watching, I love you, honey. I told her those things, and I'm going to share her response with you guys. The reason that people like Buc-ee's is simple, and I won't use the word. I redacted it for PG-13 purposes here. It's not the jerky, the fudge, or the brisket. Buc-ee's eliminates the need for all those extra stops along your road trip and the potential risks and frustrations that come along with it. And then, after she made her point, and she has that face that she likes to hit, what she did was she started listing all of the things that you can get at Buc-ee's. The clean restrooms, you got an electric car, you got a gas car, we got it all, right? While she was doing that, and I was admitting defeat, a light bulb went off in my head. Now, I'm going to ask you again, audience participation. It's very awkward at home if nobody participates, right? What do you guys think I thought about? Places where Buc-ee's could help. What, out of all the places that I thought like something like Buc-ee's could help, what do you think I thought about? That would be close. That's a good guess. That is a really, considering where we're at, great guess. I thought about road trips before Buc-ee's and what they were like. And I went back to my old resourceful dad, Clark Griswold. What's Clark going to do, right? What's the worst that can happen? Hear me out, folks, okay? Just listen to what I got to say. You go on a road trip, and you're with your family, and you're crammed in the truckster, right? And you want to get to Wally World. And we know that the Griswolds only had 2 weeks to get to Wally World. Well, when you're planning out that road trip, like Clark Griswold does, right? You have all these stops that are mandatory for you to make along the way. You got to get the gas. You got to use the restroom, right? And the gas station restrooms are kind of dodgy. And then you got to get the food, too. But you've got all that planned out along your route. And it's all mapped to the point where, uh-oh, I almost fell for the Summit 7 clicker. And it's all mapped out to the point where you know exactly, I have this much time to get to Wally World. These are the stops that I have to make. There is no room for any detours or distractions, right? We want to go see Cousin Eddie. We like his burgers. They're delicious. They're unique. We didn't know Aunt Edna was coming, right? You got to plan for the Aunt Ednas on your road trip. And if you come unprepared, sorry, the detours and the delays are going to have negative consequences. You might show up to Wally World, and you're not in time, and they're closed for 2 weeks for renovations. Now, close your eyes with me for a second. Imagine, what if, just what if, the Griswolds had Buc-ee's? Right? If you had Buc-ee's back in 1985, when they were going down and they were finding out it's a long way down the Holiday Road, right? If you had Buc-ee's at that point in time, you could eliminate all those extra stops that you had to make, right? And with less stops, with a Buc-ee's, there's less stops. And with less stops, there's less risks associated. And with less risk and frustrations that might pop up, maybe less room, or there's less opportunity or there's more room for error, actually. And if you kind of condense those stops and you have that plan, you still have all that extra chance, or all that extra time, there's a less chance of you being late, showing up to the front of a Wally World, and the moose out front saying we're closed for renovations for 2 weeks, right? You showed up not in time. You should have left Ananda on the porch a lot quicker. Now, the second light bulb that went off in my head, after you allowed me to get through my story of almost getting kidnapped in Alabama, and then how my mind wandered to Buc-ee's and how it would work out for the Griswolds, I thought about CMMC. Probably should have been the first thought. It was a weekend. And I thought about the CMMC journey for OSCs and OSAs. And I thought about, it's really like a road trip, right? You're all at a starting point. You're trying to find your destination certification. And realistically, along the way, you want as little detours as possible. No road bumps, nothing to slow you down, nothing that can steer you off of course, and essentially maybe end up with negative consequences of losing your contract, getting in trouble, or being a part of a case, right? So I came up with 3 things, and I want to do something that my boss, Paul Smeltzer, how you doing, Paul? Paul referenced, and he said, this is a good idea for you to do. And as I was watching presentations over 2 days here at CS2, the one thing that I noticed was that there was a common theme to what these experts, the people that either have sat through and delivered assessments, or the people that have sat through the assessments and passed them. And the theme was, you have to do multiple things. You need to have a good plan, you need to know where you are, where you want to go, and then once you find out where you want to go, you need to rely on trusty sources or reliable co-pilots, right? To make sure that when the detours and the distractions come, that you're not veered too far off a course and you end up standing on top of the truckster in the middle of the desert trying to figure out where the road ended, right? That was a callback to the Griswolds. So for me, I put together 3 key things that I think is important. OSCs, you need to plan the route. You cannot find out where you need to go if you don't know where you are right now. This is the most important part. When you plan the route out, you know I got to go from point A to point B, and you want to make the necessary pit stops, and you want to make sure that those are quality, necessary pit stops. Right now, in the time crunch in which we have to get to Wally World, okay, as in the CMMC Wally World, right? In the time crunch in which we have, now detours can be devastating for your organization. And so in order to prepare for those detours and the pit stops, you want to rely on trusted resources. I was watching the C3PAOs talk earlier. I was watching some of our clients who have gone through certification, and these were all 3 of the themes. We need to plan, we need to execute, make as little stops as possible because we don't have a lot of time, and then we need people that we can trust when things get outside of our expertise. So I thought about, what do you think are pit stops for OSAs and OSCs that are trying to get CMMC certification? What do you think are pit stops along their road trip? ESPs, right? The common stops. The MSP usually handles the technical. The MSSP usually handles the security aspects, right? And then for all of the compliance stuff, it's a plethora of consultants that specialize in different things. And sometimes you have to go to multiple stops to find the one that fits in there, right? Well, the problem that comes when you have these different resources that are trying to communicate with one another, but that aren't together, aren't under the same roof, aren't a part of the same organization, what happens is you get lack of communication. You get failure in communication. And sometimes you get gaps in responsibilities of who's supposed to do what. And I've talked to multiple people over the past 7 years of doing this, and it ends up being like this, the Spider-Man meme where everybody that's involved is pointing at each other and they're like, I thought you were doing that, or I'm paying you to do that. But at the end of the day, it's not getting done. And the worst part about it, and I said this in Colorado Springs, is the part that's not getting done is the elven magic called GRC that gets it all going. It is the life force that drives it all, and it is the reason why there are gaps in implementations, because people aren't defining things. People aren't carrying out things. They have their technical secure capabilities that they got from us and that fancy SRM, and they're not turning on the switch to turn it on to do the CMMC things. It's not compliant. Your security is not compliant. So, at Summit 7, we have a pretty large client base, and so we get a lot of exposure into the DIB and what the DIB's needs are, right? So we're polling and we're talking and we're trying to, as a product manager, I'm trying to evaluate client needs, and I'm trying to see exactly what our clients are looking for, and it was that conversation. They were looking for the activation. They were looking for the thing that ties it all together. They wanted the compliance on top of the technology and the security, and when we asked them the compliance, they were like, yeah, just do the compliance. And so we had to explain, we had to teach. And so in conversations with people as we were developing this, and Carly Logan, Caleb Blighty, if you can stand up and take your recognition, there was a lot, please stand. These people right here, I spent an absurd amount of time on the phone and on meetings with these people delivering what we've been testing on the back end so that we can refine it, listening to the emails from the clients, listening to what's coming from the hot washes of the clients. We have spent an insane amount of time trying to see exactly what clients need. Carly comes up with something, and she says, we're going to call it assurance. You remember that? Caleb's like, and I hate saying this, it's going to make my skin burn, but I talked to Caleb Blighty and I talked to Daniel Akridge, and they're like, clients are asking for CMMC in a box. What an awful term. In my head, the light bulb goes off. That light bulb's like, you know what they need? CMMC needs a daggone Buc-ee's. Right? But Buc-ee's wasn't always the one stop. It didn't have everything to start, right? As time went along, let's just say a big Samoan product manager worked at Buc-ee's, right? And as people were coming in and they were submitting those nice little complaint cards, they were like, man, y'all need candy nuts, 15 more flavors of jerky, more fudge, whatever it is. And as time progressed, what happened was Buc-ee's evolved to meet the client need, to become that one stop and to make sure people don't get kidnapped in remote Alabama, right? So how'd we do it? Scott, this logo, whew, throwback, right? Should be on the back of a starter jacket. But at Summit 7, we like to do something. We like to evolve as our clients' needs evolve. As a provider, we are classified in that ESP category, but I've heard Scott Edwards multiple times classify us as a problem solver, and that's exactly what it is. As you guys, our clients, come up with problems, we work on the back end, we test on the back end, and we try to come up with as many answers that we can satisfy. So we started, and way before my time, as point-in-time consultants, doing SharePoint consultations and things of that nature. And then as our clients' needs evolved, and also because we're in the same boat as our clients, we evolved too. You get those fancy Guardian and Vigilance, got that managed service provider, that managed security service provider. We got it all covered, right? We got all the technical stuff covered, and they were like, we need more. Clients were like, we need more. We need help with more. We don't understand this. We're not staffed for this. Can you point us to people? And we got into those cases where the communication just wasn't up to the level in which we wanted to function with the time in which we had. And so we were like, what do we do? Because these people are asking us to build compliance programs for CMMC so they can keep their contracts and their livelihood, et cetera. So what we did, we came up with Commander. From assurance, from CMMC in a box ideas, from client need, we evolved. And now we have 3 pillars to get you from contract to compliance and beyond. Beyond's very important. Don't forget the beyond. So I've spent a good amount of my time up here on the stage telling stories, and I'm really supposed to be talking about Commander, so I might get in trouble when we're off, but let's talk about Commander. What is it? Built, not bought. very important. From the ground up internally, how does this work with our other solutions? Commander is a structured service that is designed to help organizations develop sustainable compliance programs. Not get certified. Get certified and stay certified. And make sure you don't make any mistakes that we got to get you certified again before it's time for you to really get certified, right? The other thing is it's pretty important that it complements completely our guardian and vigilance, let's try this again, our guardian and vigilance offerings. 100% complement to add on to that beautiful SRM that we deliver to you to make sure it lights up, right? The first Summit 7 managed service that offers shared responsibility with all 320 assessment objectives. You notice I didn't say we do all 320 because we understand shared responsibility at Summit 7. Also, the thing that you need to learn is that you need to learn how to do this. You need to adopt this culture. You need help learning it. We will help you do that. We will stand beside you along the way the entire time. And we tie our compliance over top of our technology and our security. Why do you not like me today? There we go. And what Commander becomes is it becomes that overarching GRC element that controls the secure technical capabilities that you get. And if you look on the right-hand side, it's a little unique when we talk about that shared responsibility matrix because there's still ownership in there. But that ownership means nothing if you do not activate it. If you do not define the things that we're supposed to be included in your logs. If you do not define lockout periods, well, it's defined for you now. But if you don't do those things, the technology we give you, although you're still secure, you're not compliant. And so what we did with Commander, and this is very interesting, is, like I said, we reimagined shared responsibility for CMMC. We took out the OSC ownership of any of the assessment objectives, and now we're standing behind you. And in some of the areas where you used to be on your own, we're providing advisory and oversight into your processes to make sure that they're being developed, to make sure that they continuously are executed past getting certified and into your self-affirmations, into your SPRS entries for the affirming officials when they have to put their backs on the line, and then to make sure that this scramble that everybody just went through to get compliant, you don't have to go through it again. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready. We split the shared responsibility. It's a 60-40 split in the shared responsibility, where Summit 7 still owns that 40%. And on the the other 60%, what we're taking and doing is either, if the process exists, helping you build the process and helping you establish the process. If it needs to be refined, we're helping you refine it. And if it doesn't exist, or if it does exist and you're doing it well, making sure it's documented appropriately, which is one of the 3 things that we usually run into with people with their implementations. Summit 7 directly supports, influences, or owns each CMMC Level 2 assessment objective. Directly supports, influences, or owns each. All under the same roof. Let's talk about how it works. 5-phase program. It used to be 4 when we were in testing, and we moved to 5. And it's an expert-led program. It's not just one compliance person that works at Summit 7 that's telling the admins what to do. With Commander, you get a team, and the team is split up into specialties. You have a person that specializes in assessments. You have a person that is a lead consultant that could navigate people completely through their compliance journey. You have a technical writer, right, that writes everything down, that makes sure that everything's documented appropriately. You have a team of people that are now on board with you to make sure you become compliant and stay compliant. Our 5 phases, are designed to do a few key things. We want to help you evaluate your compliance program against CMMC Level 2 to see exactly where you stand when we meet. Let's get to know you. We do some discovery exercises. We make sure that you understand where you're at because we're in this together. It's not turning it over to us. We're going through the road trip together, right? Once we get through the discovery and we know exactly what you got going on, we are going to evaluate it. Now we have a complete package to evaluate it. And we're going to evaluate how you've implemented those things, whether you've done it well and whether you haven't done it well. And if you haven't done it up to snuff to be compliant, We're gonna make a plan of action and milestone entry for each one of those. And then we will go through with you, create a roadmap plan, and execute to remediation. Commander's goal is to discover what's wrong with your implementation of CMMC requirements, to tell you what's wrong with your implementation of CMMC requirements, and then to help you eliminate having anything wrong with your CMMC requirements. Find your POAMs and knock them down to 0. Once you get into the remediation and down to 0, everybody automatically assumes, hey, we're done, right? That's it. We don't have to do anything else. And that's where they all fall off. And in 3 years, they'll be scrambling to do the same thing. There's no continuous monitoring. There's none of that. So after you receive your certification, we enter into a different era of delivery where we're focused on maintaining the environment, one, that you're still executing processes, and then two, something that has been triggered multiple times by the C3PAOs that have spoke at this event. Something that's been asked by multiple attendees at this event. I want to be sure that I'm not doing something and making a change in my environment that's going to make me have to get another $30,000 C3PAO assessment, right? I just got it last month. I was just talking to somebody out in the hall, and they're like, man, we got to get a new SIM tool. That's a change in your scope. That's a change in your assessment environment. Like, you're going to hang on to it to the end of it? Those are the kind of things that I believe firmly, and that we believe in the development of this program, that those are the things that are going to be the most chaotic after you get certified, is people are going to be falsely thinking that they're good to go for 3 years, everything's fine and dandy, and then when it comes time for recertification, they're going to get kicked in the gut again, and we're going to go through this scramble. And that's what we want to avoid. That's why we built this program. We put it in the phases, and we want you to hop on board. So it makes the question here extremely simple for us, right? You can't know where you want to go if you don't know where you are. And you have a choice when you decide where you want to go. What is your choice, right? Do you want to take the route of the Griswolds, right? Multiple stops, little room for error, no real experts, Clark just winging it as things come up? Or do you want one stop, more convenient, fresh brisket on the board, candied nuts, all that gloriousness, all in one stop, much simpler, and then in case there's some detours up, right? You plan accordingly. You're good to go. Let me get some water real quick, excuse me. Now, one of the key things that we ran into when we were making Commander is that there was always this challenge of organizations thinking, we've been doing this for a long time, we've been trying this for a long time, we think that we're ready. And I think that Caleb can kind of vouch that we've gone into into conversations with a lot of organizations, and when it comes to their idea of how prepared they are, it's far off from the things that are realistically expected of an OSC getting ready for CMMC. It's actually along the lines of a false start in every scenario. So we had to find something that eliminated the false starts. We had to find something that allowed them to get out of the gates. We also had to find something that would fit into our service offerings. Like, what are we going to do? We could just simply throw compliance out there. Yeah, we're going to do the compliance, right? I said that earlier. We got a compliance service. We do the compliance. No. You're going to get the gap analysis, even though you may have had a gap analysis from some other organization. You're going to get one from us. This is a get-to-know-you period. We're entering a relationship together. We're practically moving in together. Things are moving kind of fast, right? And for 3 years, we need to be on the same page in understanding. And through testing, what we found was that the understanding that we were given by the clients sometimes varied from what the understanding needed to be for the implementation. Wherein, yeah, I've got MFA on my phone. Okay, well, what about your endpoints? What about every other thing that needs to be accessed? The adequacy and sufficiency wasn't there. And that's where the experts need to come in. And that's why we went through and built from the ground up a team assembled of CMMC certified professionals, CMMC certified assessors, CISSPs, CISMs, things like that, people that have the expertise. So it's not just a sysadmin that knows some compliance. It's a compliance team driving the technical back end and the built from there. So when we built it, the goal was for Summit 7 to be the only stop on the route. Guardian Vigilance Commander. And what does it mean to be the only stop on the route? We help you map the route. We're going to help you pack the car. And usually that's where the partnership ends for most people. But we've decided we like this so much, we're going to ride shotgun with you the entire way. We built it together to complement one another, to work seamlessly. We tested it. Now, one stop, everything handled.